Good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Martin's Koi Pond Aquatics and Fishing. Well, it has been probably 3 weeks since I did a video on the pond, and a lot has happened. Some good stuff and some bad stuff. But I'll start off by telling you that literally almost 3 weeks ago to the day, I did some scrapes and the fish had flukes, body flukes, and they had quite a few of them. So I went to my local koi dealer, King's Lynn Koi, to pick up some fluke treatment, and they didn't have any fluke M in, but they did have some Lernex Pro in. So I bought the Lernex Pro and brought that home to treat the pond, and measured it all out according to the instructions, and did a new calculation on the pond volume to make sure I got the dose right. And after about 24 hours, the golden corn was just laying on the bottom on its side, and all the other fish were fine. I mean, they were subdued because of the meds in the water, but they were fine. I got the golden corn out for a look, and he was bleeding from his gills. So I immediately changed some water in the pond, which obviously would have, I mean, bear in mind this is more than 24 hours after the initial treatment. So I changed some water in the pond to try and water down the Lernex Pro, because that's all I could think of that had affected him, and made no difference. He just went downhill, and sadly after about 48 hours after the Lernex Pro went in, he passed away. First koi I've lost in a long time, and I was gutted, to say the least. I paid good money for that fish, and well, there you go. It's part of the hobby, isn't it? So carried on with the Lernex Pro treatment, and while I'd got Lernex Pro in, I noticed that we've got blanket weed forming all around the outside of the pond. So had to treat for at least a week with Lernex Pro before you can put anything else in, and I actually left it nearly 2 weeks before I put the blanket weed treatment in. So we put Algazin in, and that's currently killing off all the blanket weed. I'm having to clean the Nexus every second day because it's just getting choked up with blanket weed that's come loose and obviously gone up the bottom drain. And all through this, I've been to King's Lynn Koi a couple of times, and this is the reason I'm not showing you the pond yet. And Fred had some fish that had come from a pond shutdown, and there was a beautiful 55 centimetre white platinum ogon with full Jinrin that he said I could have for a steal of a price. Now, as I've said on at least the last 2 videos, my little platinum ogon just wasn't growing. It's just, I've had it nearly a year and it's hardly grown. So I decided to move that on and have the large platinum ogon from Fred, which I picked up last weekend after the Lernex Pro treatment had 2 weeks. So the pond was clear then. I'd done some scrapes, there were no flukes, and the fish were all clear. So although I said I wasn't going to buy a new fish this year, obviously circumstances have dictated that I did, i.e. losing a fish and a fish not growing, that I've moved on. Now, I won't be buying any more unless something similar happens. This is still my stocking for this pond, but I wanted a lovely white Platinum Ogon, and especially one with Jinrin, and at the price I was offered this 55cm fish, I just could not turn it down. It ticked all my boxes, and he's in the pond and he's doing really well, and the people that have seen him in the flesh absolutely love him. So I'll spin you around now. What I will tell you is, you will notice there's quite a bit of foam on the water. That seems to be a response to the Algazin. So I'll spin you around. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of foam on the water. Now I've put the feeding square in, or rectangle in now, trying to keep the food to that area. Plus it keeps the water clear there, so the food doesn't get hidden amongst any foam, and that's working a treat. I've got my front predator net up at the minute, so you're looking at the pond through the net. Fish, like I said, I scraped them last Tuesday night, I think. This is Saturday, and did a couple of scrapes and not a single fluke on either fish. So really happy that the Lurnex Pro seems to have shifted the flukes in just one treatment, which is good, because obviously it leaves me, I bought the large tub, so it leaves me enough to do another treatment should flukes come back. Now I don't know if any of you guys have got any experience with the Lurnex Pro, and whether you think it was that did for the golden corn. It just seems strange that one fish reacted so badly and the others are all fine. But of course there's the new white Ogon just on cue there. Of course we know that golden corns are a heavily hybridized fish, and it could be just a theory that because of that it's a little bit weaker, and that may be why it succumbed to the treatment, and its gills started bleeding. But like I said, no other fish has shown any distress at all. It was just that one fish. So it could have been something totally unrelated and just a coincidence that it happened after I put the Lurnex Pro in, or it could have been it already had an existing problem and the Lurnex Pro just exacerbated it and brought on its demise. But I'm not going to sit here and blame the medication totally, because it's obviously a well-used, good medication, and it has worked. It has cleared my fish in one dosage of flukes. As you can see, they're all very, very chilled and happy. I did do a large water change last weekend before I put the Algazin in. Now the Algazin has left a little bit of a tinge to the water, so it looks a little bit tan, so that white Ogon doesn't look as white as it is at the minute, because it's you're looking at it through slightly tanned water. I have turned on the homemade protein skimmer again, so that will hopefully help with the foam, and I am running most of the time, not at the minute because I've just cleaned the Nexus, so I am running a trickle in trickle out at the minute, which also helps with the foam. But because I've just cleaned the Nexus, you've got this at the minute because no water's trickling out. So having said that, I think that has fully updated you. So we had flukes, we had blanket weed, we lost a fish, we moved a fish on, and we gained a fish. And I think I'm standing at 14 fish at the minute. which I don't really want to go above. So every time Fred puts bargains in the King's Lynn koi WhatsApp group, I have to sit on my hands and just say, oh, that's a nice koi. There's the white oak on there. See him, looks obviously much lighter than the Makashi that was behind him. Calling him Ghost. So that's a full update on what's been going on the last 3 weeks. I didn't film any of it as I went along. Well, actually I did start to film the Lure X Pro treatment, and then I lost that fish and it kind of disheartened me a bit, so I binned all that footage. So really happy with this fish, and it was an absolute bargain for a 55cm koi. So that being said, I've rambled on a lot, but quite a good update for you, and I will catch you in the next one.